Welcome everyone to episode 293 of NoCoders Office Hours. I'm your host, Tanya. We're here with our members, John and Stango. We're going to get started in just a moment. But first, if this is your first time tuning into Office Hours, what it is we hold Zoom sessions 6 times per week for our members to come and ask us any bubble question or any no-code question that they want or have. And we do our best to answer them. We can't promise to have all of the answers because no one has all of the answers, but we do get the bubble questions right most of the time, and sometimes other questions as well. So welcome, gentlemen. I'm hoping you have questions for me today.
I'm afraid I do, as usual. Did you manage to fix your getting the right details out of your RGs, Enko, or not?
I did manage to fix it, yeah, but I want to take a look at it with Tanya if that's the right thing, and then now I have something similar, but we'll take a look at it.
Good.
Yeah, that was good.
So I can probably only stay for about half an hour, Tonya. So I'm up this late because, Senko, it's 2 a.m. in the morning where I am. Just for
Yeah, I know. Go ahead, John.
Because I'm taking my wife to the airport for 3 a.m. So I'll probably be about half an hour on here. But I thought since I was up, I'd come in and say hello.
Oh, that's awesome. Glad you're here.
Very nice of you to get up that early for it.
Well, I've not gone to bed yet.
You just stayed up.
Yeah, I made that decision. I thought, well, should I go to bed and get up for 2?
Yeah.
Or should I just stay up? So I thought, hell, I'll just stay up and I'll go to bed.
Yeah, well, for me, the problem is I wouldn't stay asleep if I know I have to be up at 3 a.m. I just keep waking up and to start like, did I miss it? Did I miss it?
Yeah.
So.
It's just a bubble night, I guess.
Yeah.
Bubble all-nighter.
Yeah. Right, so can I tell you my problem, because I've broken my app, Tonya, but I know you'll know how to fix it because I think it's related to something you helped me set up that I clearly don't understand well enough to fix.
Okay.
So
yes, by all means, do not suffer alone.
I had a quick look at it. Well, I've been looking at it for a while. I thought, I'll tell you what, I know who will be able to fix this far quicker than I can. So if you remember the other day, let me get rid of everyone's face, otherwise it would distract me. So if you remember, we built so that 2 things. So when you click this drop down, you should get the list of your properties stroke websites you want to track from the list that we saved to the database now that is your set list. And we did that on this page where, if it goes to it, which it will do, it brings back the properties. You select which properties you want, and then it brings them up here, and then you can save them. All of this, and that drop down has broken, and I am pretty sure that it's to do with the database. So I've been busy setting up Stripe, and therefore fiddling around in the database, changing a few things. And I've obviously changed something that has broken it because I've not changed the code for this, and I've not changed the code for this page. So I think I've done something to the database that has caused it to go. So in this one, as an example, it goes current users, subscriptions, properties, and then it just sorts them. So it's obviously not getting those properties anymore in the way it should.
Okay.
And I can't quite work out where. So, and I struggle a bit to relate this to the relevant field in the database. So if I go here in the data structure, you've got all users, which I don't think is exactly where it's looking. I think it's looking in here and at properties.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so as far as I'm aware, I don't remember ever changing this, so I'm not quite sure what.
Can you go to your privacy rules? Just go up to the privacy tab.
Where am I looking? Oh, there.
Right.
Yeah, so I've not even touched this, but yeah.
Okay, so they're publicly visible, so that's not the problem.
Yeah,
okay.
I've definitely not been in here.
Okay, and then go back to the data, app data, and you always run as the same user, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I have been creating new users as part of the Stripe thing, but I am logged in. So that John 3 here is the only John 3 in the system, and that is who I am logged in as at the moment.
Okay, and it's the only one with a subscription. All right, and then go, so click into the edit for that John 3. Yeah, you just accidentally deleted that. It's all, you just have to add it back there.
Right, and so I tried in this. So what am I adding back? That's the
subscription plans type. So you're adding the record. So if we cancel out of there, actually it's looking for the subscription plans type, and we have the type of, what are your subscription plan types again? I think it's an option.
Free, small, medium, and large, or something, weren't they? That's in
the option set.
Yeah, in the option set, exactly. Free, small, medium, and large.
Okay, do you know which one John 3 is on?
I should be on small.
Okay, so go back to the app data. Go back into John 3. And then in that subscription, just type small. Nope. Okay, click that button underneath where it says change search field. And just switch it back to unique ID for the plan. Okay, and click save, and then click save.
Oh, then click save, right, okay.
And then what we want to do is go into the subscription plans, all subscription plans, click the edit, grab that unique ID at the end, copy it.
Yep.
And then we want to go paste that back into John 3.
Right. Okay.
So
what is that? What is that?
So that's the unique ID of the plan specific to John 3, where you have the properties stored. And so the way we were accessing it is we were saying current users subscriptions properties, but because the current user didn't have a subscription, it couldn't find any properties.
Yeah. Yep. See, I knew you'd solve it. That's it working. Okay. Fabulous. That saved me out. I wouldn't have worked that out. So that's great.
Awesome.
So Bubble automatically generates that number then, does it, so that it uses that as a key to the user?
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm still learning the mysteries of the data. I don't like the way they do the data, because I'm actually relatively au fait with sort of structured database. I don't like the way they sort of I wouldn't say obscure it, but it's abstracted more than I'd like it to be, is perhaps the best way of looking at it.
Yeah, well, there are lots of limitations of Bubble's database, and the more you play around with Bubble and the more complex your apps get, the more of those limitations you run up against, and then you start to recognize, like, oh, this is a common thing I'm bumping up against, and it would be better to use an external database. So
yeah,
I think you'll probably be really happy with Sano when you're ready to refactor.
Yeah.
But let's have a good reason to refactor with lots of people saying, hey,
exactly. When I'm inundated with users and I can't cope, then I'll look at Sano. I think very quickly, by the way, I think I've cracked this. I haven't been able to test it because of this problem, but you know that we worked through this the other day, and you can add something new and you can save it and it will keep that list persistently to the user. I can now, so that works. I can reset it. So I've now got it to reset, he says. So it will reset to a default list. So it'll get rid of that versus, but this down here is me testing it. So that spits out the regex we want.
We
So
did it.
I've used that to construct the regex. So all I've got to do now is test passing that regex into the API, which will then populate these. So that will be, when I've had some sleep, that will be today's job, is to get that properly working. But it looks like it's working. So actually constructing the regex was easier than I thought. So there you go. Anyway, I'll stop mumbling now.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome, Adam. Welcome, Jordan. Danko, you are up. It's your turn.
All right. Thank you, Tanya. May I share my screen then?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. So here, very briefly, I'd like to, when I press edit here, we go into the pop-up that edits, and I'm able to remove trucks and add trucks to this repeating group that is part of this dispatch record here.
Okay.
The edit button is. When the trucks are saved or updated, they are part of a list in the dispatch record. And so when the status of these truck changes, the backend work API flows is a workflow on a list, and the API ID numbers are stored in the dispatch record itself under two different categories. One category is when they're using their own trucks, and the other category is when they're using someone else's trucks. So in this case, this is a list in the database. This is a list of dispatch records. And so now when I want to remove only one individual truck, how do I search for these records? These are text records that are in the logs section here. However, I do need these ID numbers for one particular truck, and I cannot seem to be able to find the expression, dynamic expression, to find the parent group truck that I'm trying to.
Yeah, let's play around with this and see. Share my screen, and I'll prototype it.
All right.
All right, so we're gonna go. And so I'm going to make a data thing. Workflow IDs. I'm going to create a field here called workflow IDs, and it's going to be a list of text, because that's what you have, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then if I have a button here, every time I click that button, I want to schedule an API workflow. Here, it doesn't matter. Let's see what it's not arbitrary text. I want arbitrary date. Next Friday. All right. And then after that, I want to make changes to a thing, and the thing will be do a search for this workflow. First item, workflow IDs, and I want to add the result of step 1. So then if I just preview this, oh, there's one problem. I need to come to my app data and I need to create one. Okay, so now in my app data, I should have 4 workflow IDs, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
So our question here is, how can I know anything about these,
Right.
like these workflows?
Mm-hmm.
And what we have in our logs that we can see in our scheduler, we can see these, and we have the API event, the current user parameters here.
Right.
But that doesn't have the information that you want.
Correct.
Okay, so none of these fields have what you want anyway. So I think the best way to do this is to go ahead and create in the database your workflow ID thing. And then on your record right now, where you're just storing a list of text, instead you're going to store a list of workflow IDs. The workflow ID, so after I schedule here, so after I schedule this workflow, I will make changes to a workflow ID, but I'm going to have more information that gets attached to this number. So I'm going to say like the truck ID, right? And I don't have a truck ID in my database, so I'll just call it text for now, right? And then it can be truck 1, right? And that way, when I create here, and instead of make changes, it would be create a new thing. And then you can add that new thing to the list in the other record.
All right. So I would have to, actually, I was thinking of just adding these fields to a truck record instead of a dispatch record, then the pairing.
I wouldn't, because each trip, each workflow ID is its own distinct thing that you don't need to keep. You probably need to keep records that things have happened or whatever, but you don't need to like store an endless list of these things on other things in your database.
Right. But in this case, I do need to cancel these workflows. They will need to be canceled quite often. So these IDs are really important now that I've kind of gotten deeper into it.
Because now, if instead of making changes, remember this is going to create a new workflow ID. Now you'll know which workflow ID belongs to which truck, so you'll be able to find it to cancel it.
In a list, because that workflow is a list, in fact. I'm not sure yours is a list as well, and how do you use the first item or something to okay.
So I probably would do it recursively instead of doing a workflow on the list. Do you know the difference? So a recursive workflow is like doing a workflow on a list, but you're doing the work of looping through each one. You're doing it yourself instead. So here I would have in the backend workflows, I'd make a new one and I would call whatever your schedule API on a list is. So I'll just call it on a list. So are you sending in a list of things?
Yes. Right. Yes, there's quite a large list of parameters. Yeah.
Okay, so you have, you would send in your list, instead of sending in your list as the list to do the workflow on, you would send in the list as a parameter. So a parameter of type text list, in this case, this is just as an example. Then what you do here is you would use that list of things that you sent in as a parameter.
Mm-hmm.
And you would say, do whatever you need to do. So create whatever you need to create. And you would set this, you would do your stuff based on the parameters first item.
Parameters.
And you would do, everything would be the parameters first item. And then you would do everything only when the parameters count is greater than 0.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, so then after you did this and you scheduled the workflow, then you would come back and you would create the workflow ID and then you would add that workflow ID to the record where you're going to store the list of workflow IDs. And then at the very end, and every single one of these would have the same parameter count is greater than 0. Then the very end, you would come here to the custom events and you would schedule that same workflow to run again. So on a list. And depending on how heavy this list of things is that you're doing,
Right.
you would put some time between it, like 3 seconds or something.
So, all right. So it's not really possible to search for these.
No.
It's not. If they're in a list, it's not possible to search for them to get them back.
Nope. It's not.
Yeah. Okay. I spent the whole day trying to find the expression to search for them, but I just couldn't find it.
No, it's not possible, and it's just because right now it's just a list of text, and there's no way to tell.
Right.
There's no way for Bubble to tell which truck
Right.
belongs to which number.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I did think, I think for me, it might be easier just to put them on a truck because they would be associated with the truck and then they will expire because these things are kept as a list, actually in the dispatch record, but they're useless to me because I can get the IDs, but I cannot cancel the event out of the list, apparently.
I think, Stanko, I would recommend against that.
Really?
Because it's just a number, and you need to associate that number with the particular truck. But also, if you want to clean up that list over time, you need to associate it with the date and time that was created. So I think I would recommend doing it with the extra data type, even though that's a little bit painful to refactor, to do it that way. And because then you can set a self-destruct mechanism that just wipes it out of your database after a day or two, because you're not going to need them for more than a day or two, I imagine.
Right. That's all I'm going to be needing them for. That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So if you keep them on their own separate data type, then you can when you create the thing in this action here, then the next thing is you can schedule an API workflow on that thing that deletes it after 2 days.
Right. This is another question that I do have about dispatch records too, because after a while, these dispatch records will stay in the database. Like right now, I have them backdating to November 30th, and I was wondering, how do we clean up this database? Because over time, and especially with a number of users going up, the search functions should be really heavy because there's a lot of things that are being run through that are already never going to be used again, in fact, after the finish date of a dispatch, for example. Right.
So I might not worry about that one as much in terms of cleaning it up. Mm-hmm. Bubble has limitations to its database, but it doesn't really have a limitation on like how many records that you can store. And as long as you are constraining your searches properly, you shouldn't be retrieving all of those things in any one search.
All right.
So it would be like you would only be searching for like today and the future, except when you're doing reports. And then that's why you would want to keep those records, is for reporting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me go through it. I haven't used the recursive workflows. I'll just wait until you put this up so I can go through.
Yeah. We have we have some videos on recursive workflows in the vault. So if you go to pronocoders.com, you should be able to search the vault and find some instructional videos on recursive workflows.
Yeah, they should really work similar to API workflows, except they do have a time. I don't think I know a little bit about them, but it's just
the biggest thing I think is this part here where the parameter count is greater than 0.
right.
I prefer this method. I've seen other people use different methods, but this one, when you get to scheduling the workflow again, you just take the same parameter here, and then you would minus item, parameter first item. And this is how you make sure that you get down to 0 at some point and you don't stick in an infinite loop.
Okay. Yeah. Let me wait until you put this up, so I'll go through it, and then
sure.
It's a little bit.
And if you want me to, and we can come back to, and I can help you get started.
Sure. Yeah. Let someone else go, because there's quite a few people, and then yeah, let's do that. Sure.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Adam,
thanks.
welcome.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
I have a quick question. I'm trying to be a little bit like sneaky about something that I'm doing in the way that I'm gathering information, and it's not coming back the way that I'm hoping for it to. It is basically not really sneaky. It's just kind of like trying to make an algorithm in Bubble, and we all know that an algorithm in Bubble isn't really, ideal. But I've put something together that I think is functional if I can just get the Bubble equation right.
Okay.
Okay, so I will share my screen and I'll show hidden variables. Okay. Can we show all children? Is that a thing? Okay, repeating. So as you see, I have a ton of different feed posts, and essentially this is one that is a little complicated. So this is, and if I get this one right, I can get every other one right. Like that's where all these 28 issues are coming from. I kind of just flagged it. So I'm looking for the highest performing feed posts in someone's industry, right? So what that means is if someone has marked themselves as participating in an industry, let's say it's film, I want to do a search for feed posts where the posting user is in, a search for profiles, where we just actually no, I'm basically just trying to find a search for profiles that contain the list of the current users' industries, and then it spits out users again. Does that make sense? So the database
Okay,
structure.
Okay, so we're searching for feed posts, and we're feed posts, and then one of the constraints on the feed post is for the profile, looking for the profiles.
Yes. So essentially what
in search for profiles, each item's industries intersect with. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So you're just looking for a list of users by searching their profile.
Disappear, everyone. I will see you.
Bye, John.
All right. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye, John.
Bye.
Bye, John.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. So show me the database structure.
So it's basically there is a user type, but there's so much on the user type, right? Like all this stuff. So, and I know you've told me before that I should not have more than like 10 things. This is literally as minimal as I can make it. And then this is a profile type, and there's a related user, there's a company, and essentially, yeah, so like there's a list of industries on this, and I'm just trying to figure out how I would be able to.
Wait, slow down, slow down. So the user is attached to a profile and the profile has a list of industries, is that right?
Yes, yes.
And the industries are things in your database or their text or their option sets?
Option sets.
Option sets, okay. So we are looking for profiles that contain a
So
list of
basically what I'm
options.
hoping for is profiles that intersect in the industry section, right? So like if you have marked
Got it,
that you're
okay.
in music and film and someone else has marked that they're in music and film, this is where their feed posts would show up. And what I'm thinking I might have to do as I say this out loud is maybe I just do a repeating group where I search for profiles and do the intersect with based on the industry, right? And then I feed that into this.
Yes, that sounds like a reasonable approach to it. So can you
Because
show
that's
me
a
how
lot.
they're filtering or where the filtering is happening? Like, is this based on, oh, this is your feed post. So
Mhm.
you're just looking for search for feed posts where it's coming from those people. Okay. I get what's happening now.
Yeah.
All right, let me think through this for a second. So I think it would be much easier for you when a post is created to save the information that you need to do this filtering on the post in fields on the post itself.
I get that, but like what if somebody ends up leaving an industry or something? Do you know, I want this to be dynamic. Does that make sense? Like, you know, if someone changes that they posted this when they were just doing music, now they're doing film too, you know? I think I might
Just
try to
looking.
do, what do you think about doing the profiles where like I basically just get a list of profiles that intersect at the industry point, and then I have a repeating group there, and then in search for feed posts I can have it be posting user is in that
That
repeating
repeating
group's
groups
results.
list. Yep. I like it.
Okay, cool. I think I'm gonna try to mess around with that. Thank you.
Yep. Awesome. Jordan, how are you? Oh, Jordan, can you hear me? You're on mute, I think. Oh, no, you're not on mute, but I can't hear you for some reason.
Hello, hello.
Yep, now I can hear you. Hi.
Oh, okay. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm gonna share my screen here. Okay. Let me know if this might not be. Apologies. I'm really starting off on like square one on this problem I'm having, and it's trying to do print from my bubble page. I'm looking at using this JS print manager. So if this isn't like the time or place for something like this type of question, just let me know and I can, schedule it or something like that.
Actually, I think this would be something that I think we just went through this like a couple weeks ago with another member.
Oh, okay.
So we probably already have a recording for this kind of thing, but also Cameron is the one who figured it out, and Cameron will be here tomorrow.
Okay.
So
yeah, I can hold off till tomorrow.
Yeah, that would be great because then because I don't know JavaScript, and I was just amazed watching Cameron work the last time. So
fair enough. Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't know it either. So.
Yeah, awesome. Is there anything else I can help with?
I guess I have a minor secondary question. This loader plugin, this is I think Eli put this together. I was just curious. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I said yep. That's right.
I was curious, is there a way to use this loader screen for like a pop-up instead of on the screen itself? Because when I put it in a pop-up, then it just makes the whole screen white, and it never never works.
No, but if you want a spinner, if you want a spinner for the pop-up, I would just find an animated GIF.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm really
and-
looking for a countdown timer, like go 3, 2, 1, and then it'll take a picture with this camera
Gotcha.
element.
Okay. Have you looked into plugins for countdown timers?
Yes, I do have that one right here, and
And
it does.
it
Yeah, it works for
it
me.
does
Oops,
it does work? Okay.
There's the cat.
Yeah, it's a cat.
Let me see here. So this 0 right here, when I press take a picture, see 3, 2, 1, 0. So that
Okay.
does work how I want it to.
And then are you able to get it to take the picture?
Yes.
Okay. So you just want a more beautiful countdown
Exactly.
than just text. Okay.
Maybe there are some GIFs that'll do that. I didn't think about the GIF option.
There's probably, and you might be able to fake it with 3 different pictures, right?
Okay. And have them just come up in like a sequence.
Yeah, exactly. So I think
Okay.
yeah,
I'll play
I think
around with
that's
that.
might be where I would start is see if you can find the gentleman who created the technology behind GIFs or GIFs. I'm trying to remember because I just read an article or something or heard how he said it. I'm like, I want to know how he said it.
Oh yeah, I
Not
think
for
I say
this
it the
way.
wrong way.
I don't know. No, I don't know that that's true. I just remember I saw it and I meant to remember how it was, and I call them GIFs instead. But yeah, I think finding one that does the countdown for you, like that's probably a good way to go. But if that's a little wonky, then you can show a picture like that says 1 and then hide it after 1 second in the second one and so forth.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like I could put that together.
Yeah.
Do you think
Awesome.
the office hours, are we talking like a week back or 2 weeks back? I don't mind scrolling through to see if I can find that.
Let me take a look because I know I have Sandra's messages to me in Messenger, and I'll find the link for you.
Okay. Sure. If
Yeah.
only if you're not busy. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. Thank you, Tanya.
Yeah, you're welcome. Zdenko,
Yes.
would you like to go again?
Sure, let's do it. Should I share my screen, I guess?
Sure.
All right. So these are I should actually show you the workflows. So when we save these things, I think we should go through it a little bit just so you get an idea. First of all, as I said, there are 2 types of trucks, and then actually 3 lists. So first one makes changes to the list of trucks that are connected trucks, meaning the other company's trucks, if they're used, and then the company's own trucks if they're dispatched. And then it creates a dispatch record and with the time and all the materials. And then here it splits it into truck lists, which contains all of the trucks, the company's trucks and the other company's trucks, if there are. And then also it splits it into own, so the truck lists that contain the current company's trucks and also the ones that are shared with this company, meaning other companies. Then, so once it creates this dispatch, then it changes the truck status. Again, it runs on the own trucks. It creates them from dispatch, from available to dispatched to a particular job site or whatever. And then schedules that workflow on the truck, changes the truck status, and also does the same for the shared trucks. And then it collects all these backend workflow IDs again into own trucks and the shared truck list. And then sets the states of the lists back to. So this is the process that it's when we save the dispatch when it originally is created. The same thing happens when this dispatch is updated in the update pop-up. So it makes changes to the dispatch. Again, it sets these lists, right? It sets the list of available trucks and then the shared trucks, and also the main truck lists, and then cancels these workflows as a result of this, right? So it cancels then all of the workflows.
Right.
And here I'm able to get these IDs, right? Because they are a list. So cancels all the ones that are own trucks, and then cancels the list of workflows where the trucks are shared. And then schedules again workflows again on the own trucks and the shared trucks, and collects these actually it adds the lists of the scheduled ones and removes the list, right, of the ones of the canceled ones. So this works like this. If we remove the whole list, it works fine.
Right.
However, now the problem is I thought that we would be able to do it individually, except we cannot, since this is a list, we cannot.
Yeah, there's no way to tell which workflow ID belongs to which truck unless you create that in a recursive workflow instead of scheduling things on a list.
Okay, so instead of the scheduled workflows, I would need to do the recursive ones. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so where you're scheduling a workflow on a list, for those, instead of doing that, you would schedule a workflow and feed the workflow a list and then run that workflow recursively, because then you can schedule the workflow per truck, grab that ID and create a new thing to store in the database that associates the truck with the workflow ID that you then need to be able to access individually later.
Okay, so basically right after this workflow here, we would schedule another associated with this workflow?
No, because what you want to do is you don't want to do schedule API workflow own truck status change on a list. You want to schedule API workflow own truck status change, and then in a parameter on own truck status change, you want to send the list that you want to operate on and run that workflow recursively. Because right now what you're doing is when you schedule the workflow on a list, you're creating all of those workflow IDs in a list. Yeah. And so all you have access to are the workflow IDs, and you don't know which of those workflow IDs belongs to which truck. But if you do it one at a time, you can say this truck goes with this workflow, and now I know the connection and I can create and store that information in my database.
All right. Okay, yes, I do. I do understand what you're saying, except I have a hard time of putting it together.
Yeah, no, it's very tricky. So if we wanted to, if you want, go click to add an event at the end there.
Here,
No, so an event, so a new workflow.
actually, let's add an event and we'll disable it, maybe. Yeah,
Yep. So if you just, it's going to be a new. Oh, you're on the page. Okay. So what I want you to do is go into your backend workflows and create a backend workflow.
right. Yeah, let's do that.
And it's just going to be a new API workflow.
Yeah.
And we'll call this, just call it recursive for now. So it'll be easy for you to recognize it. Okay. And so add a new parameter and we'll call it trucks. Because each truck has its own record, right? In the database.
Yes, each
Yep,
truck
so-
has its own record. Yeah, and this is
So make it.
Oh.
Yep. Oh no. So it's of type truck.
it
So
is
make the type truck.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And then you want to check the box to make it a list.
Oh, here list. All right. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. All right. And so now in this workflow, let's just do a couple of steps.
Sure.
So like, what would be one of the things that you would do with the truck in this workflow that we're recreating?
We would change the truck status.
Okay. So make changes to a thing.
Yep.
And the thing to change would be truck's first item.
Oh, first item. I see. Okay.
Yep, up at the top. There you go. And then change another field. And you'll just change the status.
Okay. Truck status. Right. Okay.
And then you can say, yeah, whatever.
Whatever.
Dispatched. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And now in your only when, in your conditional there, you're going to want to say trucks
Yep.
count
Oh, count. Right.
is greater than 0.
Okay.
And now let's schedule a workflow and send that truck into the workflow.
But
So click to.
but not the workflow on a list, right? Just a regular workflow.
No, just the regular workflow. The one that you would normally send the list of trucks in, but we don't want to schedule it on a list. We just want to schedule it with one truck. So click to add an action. And schedule the API workflow.
Okay.
And would it be own truck status change or something else or a different?
Oh yeah, yeah, right. Which I already have, is that right?
Right, exactly. So, and what's the change that you're making to the list of trucks? There,
So
you're just
this
making it
to available.
available. Right. Okay. Yeah. So what you would do is you would change this workflow, and instead of having it make changes to a list of trucks, you would just make changes to one truck, and it would be the truck that you send in the parameter in this one, right? And then the thing is that when you schedule that API workflow, you'll grab the ID and store it in its own thing in the database. So go back to the recursive test. And then schedule, in that schedule API workflow, go ahead and click that. And then schedule a different workflow. It doesn't matter which one. We're just practicing.
Yeah, let me create another one actually, right?
Okay.
So it will be a new workflow, which, all right. So this will be recursive follow-up. Let's say, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then add a parameter.
So we are we're recursive test, right?
Yep. But go ahead and into the recursive follow-up, into the other one.
Yeah.
And add a new parameter. Nope, in the workflow, at the workflow level. And then add a new parameter, and I'm just trying to think what you would send in. Do you send in the same truck into there? I guess so, because that's what.
The truck, yeah, because then it goes through the list of trucks.
Okay, so this one would just be a single truck then, just truck, and then it'll be of type truck.
Yeah, or maybe a truck status could be, yeah. Truck status. Oh, well, the truck will have the truck status on it. Yeah.
Yep. So just truck should be good.
Yeah.
And then it's not a list.
No,
It's just a single one. And then click to make changes to a thing. Click here to add an action and then make changes to a thing. And it's just truck. And then you could change the status field here back to available probably.
Oh, here I can change back to available for dispatch.
Yep. And now let's go back to the recursive workflow.
Back to recursive.
The recursive test.
Yep.
And then go into step 2.
Yep.
And schedule the recursive follow-up. So click where it says API workflow.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yep.
That's the name of it. And
then the scheduled date, you can like make it into the future. So just like however far into the future it would be.
Well, we use current date and time. It's all in current action.
Well, but you would want to do it in the future because you won't have any time to cancel the workflow if it happens right when you do it.
So it'll be happening at the time of the finish time end. Okay, I'll think about this. All right.
Yeah, so just for this, you could say current date and time and then plus 1 week.
Plus
1 day or 1 week or 1 hour. It doesn't, just give us a little bit of time.
Yeah, plus 1 hour. Oh.
You just type 1. Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and then the truck is going to be truck's first item.
Oh, first item again. I see.
And then only when is going to be only when trucks is greater than 0.
Okay.
Perfect. And now what you're going to do is you're going to schedule. We've got to grab the workflow ID from step 2, and we would store it in that thing in your database. Like I'm just showing you where you, like this is where you would say create a new thing.
Yeah, and I would then I could store it in those lists of things, could I, or no? Would this be a separate? Because there's only one record, actually. This would be only one, and that's the point, right?
Right. This is going to be one record that you're going to create, and it's going to have a few fields. It will probably have something related to the dispatch, the truck, and the workflow ID. And the reason is because you're going to need to be able to search based on those things to find the right workflow ID to cancel in the future.
Right. So would I be able to store it in that own list that I already have set?
You'll have to change that field because right now you have a list of texts. You'll have to add a different field. You can name it the same thing, but instead of being a list of texts, it's going to be a list of workflow IDs, which will be this new thing that you're creating here.
Okay, list of workflow IDs, right? not
Mhm.
list of workflow IDs, and that will be also a text value, right?
Well, the workflow IDs are going to be this thing in the database, and it's going to have a workflow ID, it's going to have a truck, and it's going to have a dispatch, so that then when you're trying to find it again, you can find it. Because when you click the remove button and you need to cancel the workflow,
Mhm.
you click the remove button, or that whichever one it is that you need to like cancel the workflow. You say, okay, go find the workflow ID for this dispatch and this truck, and then you'll find it and you'll cancel that workflow.
All right.
So
Yeah. Oh, okay.
it's a little bit of it's a little
Yeah, I'm a little
tough.
bit hard to digest this actually now again. So,
It's okay. It's
yeah,
completely understandable. It's not easy.
I see. I didn't think it was going to be that complicated. All right. So
But it
then,
makes sense that you need to do it. I get why you need to do it.
yeah. Yeah.
The other thing you could do though is you are currently scheduling all of these workflows to happen at the same time for all of those trucks.
Yes.
Instead of doing it then in that instead of scheduling all of these individual workflows for them to happen, you could schedule all of those. You could schedule that thing to happen on a list in the future. So here, let me show you what I'm talking about. So because this might solve your problem. So it'll make it
Just stop sharing.
sometimes. I've got it. So sometimes you'll ask me how you can do something, and I will tell you the
Right.
complicated way to do it. But sometimes there's an easier way to do it.
And that's
So
what I
let's
was
just-
thinking about. I think I might have a little overcomplicated it myself. So I was looking for an easier way out.
Yeah. So maybe what happens is we've got this button here, and we're scheduling a dispatch, right? So like we're
Right.
gonna make a dispatch.
Yeah.
And then we go and we have a bunch of trucks in
Yeah.
this dispatch that we're creating, right? So I'm just going to use a dummy thing here. And we schedule here. Instead of scheduling an API workflow
Mhm.
on a list, sorry, because I did the wrong. Instead of scheduling a workflow on a list
Right.
that creates all of these workflows for these things into the future, we could just schedule a workflow
Yeah.
at the end of the dispatch's time, like when you want that. So the workflow doesn't matter which one. Schedule date would be the results of step one's whatever that
Finish
date
time.
is,
Yes. Sure.
right? The finish time.
That's what it
And
does.
then
now.
And then in the parameters of this API, you would have in the parameters of it, no, you wouldn't even set it. You would just schedule it.
Right.
Because then in the workflow, what it can do is it can do a search for all of those trucks on that dispatch, and then go ahead and do whatever you need to have happen. So it'll only be the trucks that are still on that dispatch. And then if you need to remove one of those trucks from that list, you can do it just based on the truck. You can go into it and change the list of trucks on the dispatch in such a way that it won't run, that workflow will not run on that truck at that time. Did I lose you?
Okay.
So you can check the status of like which trucks are still dispatched and on this dispatch at the end time that you want to change all of their statuses back.
Okay, so schedule an API workflow at a scheduled date finish time, right? And
Say that one more time.
okay, I'm just going back to, you're saying create a new thing, we create a new dispatch and create scheduler API workflow, a single one, not a list, one on the
Not a list.
right.
Yep.
And
So
in that,
you,
okay. And in
Yep,
that
so you-
workflow, we have a number of trucks. So,
right, exactly. So I would say, I would come here and in this workflow, I'd say, clear dispatch or whatever. And then I'd have a list of, I wouldn't even need a list here. Wouldn't even need a list. I would need a dispatch. And I'll
okay,
just leave it as type text right now, right? And
Yep.
so then what I would do is I would make changes to a list of things, and the list of things would be that dispatches, the type of things would be the truck. And then the list to change would be that dispatches trucks that are still in the field of like being active on that dispatch.
and we can pick from them. All right.
Well, so what I'm saying is that if you create this original list of trucks, and you could do this in your two separate lists if you want, the ones that belong to the company and the ones that don't.
Yeah, I would need to.
But yeah, so you would just pick the list of trucks that have the status dispatched and are also on that listed on that dispatch. And then in the meantime, you schedule this to happen at the end of the dispatch. But if any of the trucks that were initially listed, if they change and they're no longer on the dispatch, they won't be pulled up here because you'll remove them from that list in the meantime.
Mhm.
So it looks like something like this. Adam, do you have another question?
Oh,
I do.
Yeah, okay. Let's leave it at that, Tanya. I'll need to go through it a little bit more. It's for me, it's a little bit complex right now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Trying
Totally.
to get a handle on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not even a pending, putting a field of pending deletion on the list. That no, I guess not. Yeah. All right. Let me digest this a little bit more. Maybe I'll get it tomorrow or something. Let me think about this.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, Tanya. I've really.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, good night.
Yeah. Good night.
Hey Tanya, so I'm just gonna share my screen really quick.
Sure.
Essentially, I realize what the thing I'm running into is that the problem is, so this only gives me the ability to pick one industry, right? So I have to pick first item, but I'm wondering, like, I want contains list. Does that make sense? And that's where I'm having the trouble.
Got it. So.
And this is actually across the board, and anytime I'm referencing an industry and I want someone with shared industries to be visible on a certain list, shared industries to the current user, it's always it only gives me contains, doesn't give me contains list.
So you're sure that you want to do a feed that only contains people with all of the same interests?
I promise you that I have like 7 different feeds, if you notice. It's just basically I'm going to put
Okay.
all of these equations into one feed, but I do want a portion of that feed to be that.
Okay. So the contains list, I think, happens on filtering.
Okay.
So instead of on the main constraints.
Okay.
So I think
Okay. So I guess I would do posting user and as a search for profiles, filtered. Let me try that. But that's not. In a search for profiles. Nope, not delete. Sorry. I worked a 15-hour day yesterday.
I feel you.
Yeah. Filtered. Were the industries? No, it's still contained. Yeah.
We are way in the weeds. This is way too hard for. This is one of those instances where I'm like, is Bubble really the right backend for that kind of searching? I think we're gonna have to hack it in our database. And I know you don't like the idea of it being like a static thing that's on the post, but I think that because if they change their industries or whatever, but I think it's possible that you can, like, how often will people be changing their industries? Like, some people are going to go and flip back and forth. Like, you can't help that. You could control that. Like, there are times where, like a software will not let you update something more than once per month, that kind of thing. So people can't just go, and then you could recursively go back and update their posts.
Right.
So that it could be done. Like, I just think that, like, the most direct way to get this, and the other problem is, like, the more complicated your searches are, the slower they're going to be. So if you could just save it on the post, so you could do that constraining in the primary constraints, it's going to make your search faster.
Right. I mean, there's a lot. I think that's a whole nother topic, but I think I need to watch that database structuring, and because I do a lot of searches in this app, because I do feel I'm pushing Bubble to kind of its entire limit, because, like, I'm trying to have something that is as close to an algorithm and all this stuff and fancy stuff as possible. So there's a lot of searches that happen on a page. And, you know, I do notice, like, a lag. It's like a 3.5 second or 4 second, like, oh, that's an annoying load time, but then you get all the information you want, right?
Right.
Okay, so for this.
But you're talking about, like, how much data do you have right now that you have a 3-second lag?
So much. Like, I'm talking on a profile page, it is insane. Because I'm doing
no,
so
like,
many
how many records are you like finding in a search that it's taking a 3-second lag?
Oh, right now, as far as users, it's only, like, 100 dummy users.
Yeah, so that's my concern. Is, like, 3.5-second lag is okay now, but when you're doing the same searches on 1,000 users, it's gonna start, like, it's gonna break down really quickly. Like, so I'm not saying that you can't get the results that you're looking for. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying we have to be smart about the way we do it, so that you're not having to refactor your entire, like, the way you do things 1 month after you launch and you have 10 times the amount of users.
Right. I don't want that either. So do you think, like, the best way to do that would be to save things as text on a profile?
Well, you could probably save things in a satellite data type just to help you, like, find these things, right? So, like, you can save, so it's a profile that you're filtering by, right? So you could do so you could do, like, a so you could maybe do, like, a satellite data type is what my friend Juan calls it. So you could create a data type that has the industries and it's connected to the user and the profile. and then you could save that on the feed post, and you can update that if well, you wouldn't have to update that, because then that satellite data type would be updated if the user ever changed. And then that might be a more direct way of getting at the information that you're looking for. I'd need to study your database a little bit more to understand
insane.
exactly.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy, but it's but like there's got to be a way of doing this that we can store in the database as users are using your app, so that we can get to that information really quickly and directly, and not be racking our brains so hard trying to find it. So
well, yeah, I mean, I guess there's also, if we think about it that way, there's other information I'd like to access to, right? Like, it's not just industries. If we were going to do that, I would probably add on like another 6 weeks of work, really. Like, it's a lot. There's so much to this. And, you know, I want to do something to make this work. And I think currently filtering by industries is the most complicated thing for right now. I just need this out. Like, I just need this in the world. And the best way I'm going to do that as fast as possible is just to get the industries functioning this way.
So did you try that repeating group?
I did. It didn't. I came across the same issue, right? Because if I'm doing a search for I search for creative industries, where basically the industries aren't empty, but then it's intersected with the current users' industries. And I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, but now I have the industries, because if I do a search for profiles, it's the exact same issue that we run into here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we're trying to find a list, and it's only giving me the option to do contains one. I mean, I was thinking, should I do contains like the first item, second item, third item as 3 different constraints? I mean, ideally, I would want it to be like, this would be a list of people that if you're in music and film, you're seeing posts from people who are in music and film, but not like some people who are only in music, some people who are only in film.
Like, you really want them to be both.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just try. So in our profile has this thing called industries, and industries is an option set.
Mm-hmm.
Industry 1 and 2. And it's of type industries, and it's a list. I'm going to go back in here and just make sure I know this is an option set. Okay. So that's the structure, right? So it's a profile that has industries on it. And
Yes.
then we have a post.
That is a posting user, and so a profile has a related user.
Sorry, I just made this in option sets, and I didn't mean to.
It's okay.
So do you know why I do the 0505 now? Because I was running at, like, I so often use the same things, but I want it to be for the current date so I can find it again. It just makes it easier. So there's a post, and then the post is going to have a creator, obviously, but we can save the profile to the post. That should be fine. Right?
Yeah.
The 0505 profile.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I am trying to find 05 algorithm, in my repeating group, and I want to find posts, and the data source is do a search for posts where the created by is the current user. I actually use owner fields for this. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. Or not created by the user. We want to find where the profile, and this is where we're like, profile is in,
Do a search
and this
for
is where
profile.
we're running and then doing a search for profiles. Okay, I'll be ready in just a minute. Where the profiles, we're going to filter industries is that's the profile trees. Yeah, we're running into that. Where did we get the contains list? Sometimes I get lost in Bubble.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to find where how I can access contains list, because I want it to be like an exact intersect.
I search for posts. Maybe we do it here. We do the filter here. Filtered by profile. And oh, you know what? I bet it's an advanced. Here. I bet you that's the key. We have to do an advanced filter. So profile is in search for profiles, and we want to do filtered by advanced this profiles. So where are we getting the list of industries that we want it to match with?
It's basically each profile has a list of industries that they can select that they're a part of.
Right. No, I know, but like when where do I know that it's going to be music and film that I want to filter by?
It's if you have marked yourself as in the music and film industry, it will automatically be posts in the music and film industry. Does that make sense? Like there's no
So
physical.
current. Okay, so advanced. So search for posts where the profile is file is in search files.
You've got to go to dinner. I'm gonna tinker with this tonight, and I'm gonna be on tomorrow.
No,
morning.
he just started a tournament. He's going to be busy for a while.
Okay.
So profile is in. No, I see what the problem is. We need. Okay, so let's try your second idea. I'm going to do here. Here, I want to search for profiles. Do a search for profiles. And then I want to filter where the industries. No, we want to do advanced. And where this profiles industries contains list of the current users profiles industries. Is that right?
Yeah. Contains list.
Current users profile. 0505 profile. Industries. All right, so this is filter. And then this one is search for posts where profile is in, repeating group, filters, list of profiles. I think that works. I think that solves all of the check marks, right?
Yeah, and is this gonna literally slow down the how can I speed this up? Like I almost want to do
Well,
like
you can paginate. Like pagination will help. So like
well, it's
don't
continuous. It's a continuous scroll. I can't have
Yeah.
people click, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I need to do like an audit of like how to do this at scale and how to make cut down the searches that I do in my app. I mean, I checked the other day, I'm at like 900 searches in my entire app.
That's a lot of searches.
I know.
But this will, I mean, this does what you want it to do. You're going to find all of the profiles where this profiles industry contains the list of the current users profiles industries.
Okay, great. And you got the advanced filter. I don't know why I'm clicking on filtered, right? And add a new constraint. I'm not seeing, oh no, advanced, got it. Okay, got it. I'm gonna try to mess with this.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much. Enjoy dinner.
You're welcome.
Whatever you're gonna do tonight.
Thanks. We're going to wrap up this episode of Office Hours. We will be back tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for watching.